All right, everybody, welcome. In this video, I'm gonna show you the Mindvalley ad that's only about 33 minutes long that did over $100 million. Now, my name is Dan Henry. I did $9.2 million with my first ever online offer. And in this video, I'm gonna walk you, here it is, I'm gonna walk you through this video word for word, exactly what was said. Now, they sold a $200 personal development product. So whether you sell a low ticket product, a high ticket product, or you're just getting started, this video is gonna help you communicate your value so that you know how to talk about what you say. So let's get started in 3, 2, and 1.
𝐟𝐚𝐜 was able to win any competition she took part in.
Now, right off the bat, it starts with, by the way, this is called a lead, right? If you're a professional internet marketer, you know what this is, but for the beginners out there, this is called a lead. When a video starts, we have to capture attention somehow. And in the lead, we need to hook them. And so notice what he said at the very beginning. He said, and I'll just rewind it.
𝐟𝐚𝐜 was able to win any competition she took part in.
So this lady, who we don't know who she is, was able to win any competition she took part in. This is kind of like, well, how did she do that, right? Because hooks, they create questions in your mind that you cannot stand to leave unanswered, so you keep watching. So that's the question. How did she win every competition she took place in?
She was known as the contest queen because she had won 7 trips to Paris, boats, houses. She would...
Okay, 7 trips. So if she was playing bingo, if she was some old lady at night playing bingo, no one would care. Because why on earth would we want to win bingo night? But when he said she won houses, she won cars, these are things people actually...
Any sweepstake, any contest, and just win 𝐟𝐚𝐜. That's me with...
And then he shows an actual picture of her, right?
With my documentary crew, and I asked Helen...
Now, he said, we interviewed her. My documentary crew interviewed her. So if I tell a story and I say, Steve Jobs said this, or this famous person said that, but I could also tell a story and say something like, I had a guy that worked for me one time that used to work for Steve Jobs. And here's what he told me. And this is true. I did have a guy that worked for me that used to work for Steve Jobs. Or I could say something like, I read all 3 books or every book that Steve Jobs wrote. And I went through all the shareholders and associate that with what you need your customer to believe to buy. It's much better if you tell a story. Like, hey, I read this happened, and here's what I discovered, rather than this person said this thing. So if you can engineer that, in which case he actually went out and interviewed this person. If you can engineer that, it's even better.
How do you do that? And she spoke about the Silva techniques.
Now, he called it the Silva techniques, okay? It's always super important to label something. You can't just say, she spoke about how this guy, Silva, taught her how to do this thing. No, the Silva techniques.
Helen, you see, was Jose Silva's former PR director. She had the benefit of learning closely from that man. Now, Jose Silva was a radio...
Okay, so in any story, Star Wars, any book, whatever, there's always a meeting with the mentor, right? I can't just say, hey, I learned how to do this thing. No, it's I learned how to do this thing with a mentor. This is just how human beings get into story more. And that's what he's doing. He's hooking you in with the story. These people literally watched this video for 33 minutes, not like dead cold on a YouTube ad, and didn't even know why they were watching it. And they didn't even get to the offer until like the very end, okay? So now he says, Jose Silva was a radio repairman, right? So now you're thinking, this lady won all these contests. She learned this mind technique from this guy who is a radio repairman. Like, what the, that's like WTF. You should be saying to yourself, what? Like, I got to know what this is. It's sort of like the beginning to a very popular TV series. You're always in the beginning going, what the heck? Like, I remember when I watched The Walking Dead, the very beginning, I was literally like, what is going on here? Why is this little girl walking all dead? And why did this cop shoot her? And, like, you want to know. So this is what he's doing. He's making you want to know.
Repairman in Laredo, Texas. And when he worked for the US Army, he observed something interesting. He saw a hypnotherapist being...
When he worked for the U.S. Army, ooh, what did we learn in the U.S. Army? He saw a hypnotherapist
brought into the US military to help soldiers overcome PTSD.
To help soldiers overcome PTSD. Now, I want you to think about this. Most people who have stress, who have trauma, who have depression and things like this, most of these people are going to not have the same amount of that as a freaking soldier, right? Like your average person, your average mom who's stressed because her kids are a pain in the ass and this and that, and she feels underappreciated because of her husband or whatever. The lady hasn't been shot at, okay? She hasn't been like in war, all right? So the frame here is if it works for them, it has to work for me. Think about that. When you set something up where they think, well, if this worked for this situation, which is just like way worse than mine, it must work for me. So that's exactly why he's saying that. I think I fixed the sound now, guys. I apologize.
And stress. This got him very interested in hypnotherapy, and he decided to dive into that exploration.
So this is an origin story. This got him very interested in hypnotherapy.
But he had a reason for it. Jose had 10 children.
The hooks just keep on coming, but he had a reason for it. He had 10 children. Now you're like, why the heck does this guy have 10 children? And why is that the reason why he got into hypnotherapy after being in the freaking military where they're like using these advanced techniques to help soldiers get over PTSD? It's just like, why?
And being a radio repairman, he knew that if you reduce the resistance in a wire, more electricity flows. He wondered, is there a resistance?
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. This sounds like total BS, right? Like he's giving you a reason, right? You always have to have a reason behind it, okay?
Cool. So he started exploring relaxation techniques, biofeedback.
So he says that he wondered if the same like principle would apply to resistance in the brain, okay? But bro, like think about it. Like that's so dumb, right? The association there is very thin, but it doesn't matter because people go, oh, it makes sense. Wow, if there's less resistance here, there must be less resistance. It's just a way to bridge two things that are not supposed to be related and glue it together, okay? Glue it.
Oddly used. Now keep in mind, this was like the 50s and 60s. And what he found was fairly interesting. His kids' grades improved as he would guide them into a relaxed level of mind called the alpha level. Their memory.
Okay, again, he uses a label, the alpha level. He's like, he'd get them in a relaxed state of mind and he'd get them in alpha level. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, what the hell is the alpha level, right? So he's building the belief on top of things that are supposed to make sense, right? That's what's happening, okay? So you think, well, because there has to be some sort of unique path, some special way to get what you want. And it can't be your fault. It can't be that you're just a shithead who never, went to the gym and did an ice bath and focused more and had more discipline and went to therapy and did the things you were supposed to do as a human to become a better person. No, it can't be that, right? It can't be that you read books. It can't be that you had a positive mindset. No. It's you weren't in the alpha state, okay? That's the thing, guys. You have to shift the blame from them to someone else. That's the key. You gotta shift the blame.
It would improve, their grades would improve, but then something astonishing happened. Jose was working with his daughter, Isabella, and he was helping Isabella with one of her school books. I can't remember the exact.
Now, this is a very important point. Don't just say he helped his kids get better grades. He actually is talking about a singular moment in time. This is the principle of place. When you tell a story, talk about what was happening. He sat down at the dinner table and helped her with a book. Not, oh, he helped his kids. Don't speak in general terms. Paint the picture in their minds.
That topic, but let's say it was history. So Jose would train his kids this way. He would guide Isabella into a relaxed state of mind called the alpha level. And
See, he said it again, alpha level.
Then he would ask Isabella a question, and when you're at the alpha level, answers come to you faster. And so Isabella would answer the questions on, say, history. But then something weird happened. As Jose...
But then something weird happened. These are called rehooks, right? So when you hook somebody at the beginning of a piece of content, you have their attention. But that's not enough. You have to keep their attention. So little phrases like, and then something weird happened. You're like, because people, guys, human beings today, we literally, when we watch a piece of content, we start here and it's like our chair moves out like this. Oh, you said something cool, got to come back in. And then you listen and then you the chair kind of comes out and then something weird happened. Oh, come back in, right? So it's this constant balance of keeping people interested in what the hell you're saying. So you have to throw in these little phrases like, and then something peculiar happened, right? And that's what he just did there.
Formulated the question in his head. For example, who was the 16th president of the United States? Before he could verbally say the question, Isabella would answer Abraham Lincoln. She was able to answer questions before Jose verbally expressed them.
Now, this is like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have no idea if this is true or not. It sounds like total bullshit to me. Okay. But the truth is that what he's doing here is he's demonstrating that she had achieved, or he had taught her to achieve, some sort of heightened state of mind. Now, at no point, I guarantee you what this offer is not going to be, hey, let me help you guess the frickin' presidents or whatever. It's not. It's, if you could have just like one little ounce of this, what could you do in your life more than you do right now, right? So he's building this fantastical story up to be way more of a result, way more of an achievement than little old you, right? So that's what's actually happening here.
It was as if she was linked to his mind. Now, I met Isabella around 12 years ago. We were at a Silva conference in Greece. She shared this remarkable story with me. And Isabella today still functions.
See, she shared this remarkable story. It's always about story. It's always about narrative.
As a healer. She works at a hospital in Texas, and she's what we call a medical intuit. And doctors use her. When a patient walks in, she stays in a corner. The doctor is there. She reads the patient, and then she goes to the doctor, and she privately whispers to the doctor, check his kidneys. It's interesting. The doctors don't publicly say this because it's too out there. But this is how...
I would love to research if this is true or not, because if it is true, my God. Okay, because one thing I don't know if you're anything like me, but sometimes, like, I never want to make up a story that isn't true. I always want to use what I have and maybe embellish on it a little bit, make it a little bit more Hollywood, but I don't like to make stuff up. If this is actually true, then man, the assets these guys had at their disposal is amazing. And if you guys want, I can share a tactic or technique to show you how to take things from your life and make them one point.
Powerful Isabella's mind has become. Silva was fascinated by this, and he wrote to the leading psychic researcher of that time, Dr. J.B. Rhine at Duke University. Had a famous...
Again, authority figures, right? He wrote to this person. Whenever you're mentioning authority figures at Duke University, right? Like, for instance, I could say something like, I read an article one time that said that messy people tend to be smarter. Or I could say, I came across this MIT study, right? Like, you always want to give the full weight of the authority in what you're saying. I had a reel go viral one time, had millions of views because I said, and this is true, according to an MIT study, companies that get back to their leads within 5 minutes get 800% more sales, right? Now, I could have said a study. I could have said, did you know that companies that get back? But no, I anchored it to an authority figure that most people trust. Most people would trust college studies, MIT, et cetera. So if you have an opportunity to use that, you absolutely should.
Program testing ESP. They had proven that intuition was real. And Jose said, Dr. J.B. Rhine, I think I just trained my kids to be psychic. And J.B. Rhine said, no, and what I found, no one could be trained to be psychic. Your kids were just probably born psychic.
Okay, now this is so important. In the viewer's mind, They're thinking it's impossible what he's saying. It's impossible to be psychic. It's impossible to be able to do these things. So what does he do? He tells you a story of a very smart person, this researcher, this professor at Duke University, who also is mirroring your objection, who is saying the same thing you're thinking. You think this is by accident? No, it's not by accident. This is very well crafted, okay? When you're creating a pitch, you have to think ahead, what is my audience thinking right now? What are their objections, right? And then tell a story or weave into the pitch something that calls out their objection without saying, hey, I know you have an objection and it's this, let me address it. He's telling it in story form. He's talking about this guy who has the same objection, but he's definitely more authoritative than little old you watching. So you think, so now he's gonna think, well, if this guy gets convinced, I should be convinced. That's how he's doing it.
Psychic. So Jose said, I don't believe that. I believe we can train someone to be psychic. And so what he did was, in addition to Isabella, he trained all his kids. And then as his kids started showing up better in school, the neighbors were sending him his kids. So he trained the neighbors' kids. Then he started training the neighbors.
So this is a classic marketing timeline of events, right? You always start with a singular result. Then you expand to, and then I trained my friends, and then I trained other people. And then, so like, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a brand new coach, right? You've never, ever done anything before, right? This is my best advice for you. If you got a result, because why are you a coach? Why are you a service provider? Because you know how to solve a problem. And likely you started by solving that problem in your life. And now you want to solve that same problem in someone else's life. So you got to start with one result, and that's your result. So you tell the story of how you got the result, right? And then, if you're smart, you will have gone out and helped your friends. Not because you're a nice guy, maybe you are, but because you can now tell the story of how you helped them. And that's enough. I've sold stuff just saying how I got a result. I've sold stuff saying how I got a result for something and how my friends got a result. And then eventually, as people buy, you get them results. And so your story gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Your authority gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Most people do not begin because they think, well, I haven't got the result yet. Well, you did for yourself, right? So talk about that. And then you'll get customers. And then you can talk about their results, okay? Widening the result from his one child to multiple children to now kids in the neighborhood, showing you, well, if it works for this person, it works for that person, it works for this person, maybe it'll work for me.
Neighbors. And he proved J.B. Ryan wrong. The rate of intuition displayed in Silva classes is astonishing. Now at that point, Silva started to grow.
Now, this is interesting. This is a visual rehook. Watch what just happened here.
Silva classes is astonishing. Now, at that point, Silva started to grow and grow.
Either that or it was a mistake. Like, did you notice he just took the phone out and then it cut? That was either a mistake that they left in or that was some sort of like intentional visual hook. That one, I don't know. That one, I'll admit, I don't know.
Journalists started talking about this phenomenon, the Silva method. And finally, there was an article that appeared in a local newspaper about a man who had chronic migraine for years. And he wrote how nothing could heal his migraine. But when he learned the Silva method and was able to get into the alpha level of mind, his migraines disappeared.
Okay, so let's pause and let's recap. He's basically saying, if we were to condense this, that there is this Silva method that allows you to do amazing things with your mind and heal all kinds of stuff and achieve a higher state, right? And in order to do that, you have to get into this very specific state of mind called the alpha state. So he's establishing big idea and unique mechanism. The big idea is if you can get in the alpha state, then you can solve a bunch of problems in your life. And the unique mechanism here is the Silva method, right? So in order to get into the alpha state, you need the Silva method. So if he can convince you that the alpha state is key to solving the problem in your life, and the only way to get in that alpha state is through the Silva method, then you have to buy the Silva method program or whatever. if you don't buy it, you're literally just saying like, I've discovered this new thing that's going to help me, but I refuse to take advantage of it. So it's a very, very good setup.
For good. The next class was absolutely swamped. Silva continued to expand, and he became world-renowned.
And he's showing now that other people buy it. If other people buy it, you should buy it, right? Look, other people bought it. Other people listened to him. Other people thought he was amazing.
Started collaborating with famous scientists like William Broad at the San Antonio Mind Science Center to study the human mind. And Silva got coverage in prestigious newspapers like the New York Times. But look at this article, for example, right? It talks about brainwaves studied, and the article mentions nothing of intuition. It mentions biofeedback. Now,
okay, so now he's kind of covered the woo-woo people, right? The people who are a little bit like, woo-hoo, you know, like, let's balance our chakras. Now he knows there's probably some people watching this who are like, bullshit, right? This is not real. So now he starts moving to the logical, right? Now he starts talking about, no, it's not actually woo-woo, it's brain science, okay? This is all very done intentionally.
Silva was smart. He knew that at this time, if he went out and he said he was teaching people to be functionally psychic, people would call him crazy. So in his seminars, especially in places like New York, he positioned it to CEOs, speaking of biofeedback, how CEOs could control stress, control.
You see what he's doing? Tell me you see what he's doing, right? He's making this plausible for both the people who are woo-woo and aren't woo-woo.
Migraines, get better at their job. And then on day 4 of the class, he'd go, ta-da, and then he'd teach them waking psychic intuition. He'd have to build up their muscle to get to that level. But he proved time and time and time again that you could train someone to do this. This is why so many leading personal growth teachers were such Silva fans. For example, the late...
So again, if you've never heard of this Silva guy, which when I watched this, I never heard of him. You can build, and this is why these ads, these 30-minute ads work very well, because imagine you had no idea what Mindvalley was. You had no idea who any of these people were. This builds such a storyline of trust because you're showing, like, this is a way that you can build trust with your audience fast by showing that other people trust you. Like, think about that, right? And if you say, well, Dan, I don't have anybody that trusts me. Okay, well, then show that they trust a concept. Show that they trust you know, a method, right? So, for instance, if you were selling a cinematography course, right? You were showing how to get better lighting, right? You could sit there and you could talk about how in a certain year there was a guy that completely changed the industry of cinematic lighting. And he did so using this special technique, and this changed and revolutionized the Hollywood movie scene, and this director started doing it, and that director started doing it, and then it became a staple, and now you can see it in all the Avengers movie, and you build all this belief and credibility around this one idea, this one concept, and then you say, when I started using this concept for my YouTube videos, right, they blew up, so now I want to teach it to you. Well, now you just borrowed all that authority from someone else and used it for your brand. But you still have to build that authority up in their minds. And this is what he's doing. He's borrowing authority from this Silva guy, okay? Tell me you guys get this.
Wayne Dyer said this about Jose Silva. Anything with the name of Jose Silva as the author has my vote before I open to page 1. Yet the entire thing, Silva method, almost never happened. Jose Silva spent years studying hypnotherapy, spent years studying psychology, and as he was so deep in this research, his radio business suffered, and his income started dipping. And one day, he wrote in his biography, he lay in bed, completely frustrated that all his passion for psychology, his passion for hypnotherapy, wasn't rewarding him in terms of financial stability. He said, I picked up a book on hypnotherapy and I just flung it across the room.
Okay, in movies, the way you get people to care about a character is you present an injustice towards them, right? And so he just built up that this guy is authoritative, but it doesn't make him likable. Now he's introducing a part of the story that makes him likable because people buy it from people they like. This is intentionally designed to make you like him.
Determined that I would never go into that field again. That night, something interesting happened. As he slept, he saw 4 numbers in his sleep, along with a religious picture called the One Solitary Life, which had to do with Jesus. Jose Silva was a Christian.
I mean, you didn't need to say that, but we did. Okay, again, likability, related values, etc.
As he woke up, he realized something. That picture came from a higher power. And he mentioned later in his writing that the Jesus was simply symbology, that it was coming from a good source. Silva is non-religious. You could be of any religion. And when these insights come to you, sometimes they might come accompanied by your guru or your teacher or your holy book, okay? But Silva was fascinated by these 4 numbers.
That one threw me. So to me, it sounds like he's tried to cover the woo-woo people. He's tried to cover the logical people. And now he's trying to cover the religious people. So he's trying to, because, you know, a religious person might listen to this and be like, it's satanic, right? But if you say, oh, Jesus appeared, you know, they might be like, oh my gosh, you know, the Jesus appeared. Maybe it's a sign, right? So I feel, and I don't know this for sure. Most of the stuff I'm telling you, I know for sure. But this one, I am guessing that these things were sprinkled throughout to cover the different objections by different demographics of people from different belief systems.
And it hit him. This is the license plate number of a car. There's someone driving a car with this license plate number that I have to meet. And so Silva went to work that day at his radio repair shop, puzzling, thinking about this number, keeping his eye out for any car. That day, a friend came to the store.
Again, what's going to happen, right? Is he going to find the number? What's going to happen is what you should be thinking.
And his friend said, hey, Jose, so I want to go pick up some Mexican groceries. Would you like to ride with me? I'm going to drive across the border to Nuevo Laredo, pick up my groceries, come back here. Let's go hang out, have a chat. And Jose told his friend about the number. And Jose said, yes, I'll come with you. But as we are driving, I'm going to be keeping my eye out for any car with that license plate number. His friend probably thought he was a little bit out there, but his friend decided to take Jose for the drive. Back then, crossing the Nuevo Laredo border was a lot easier than it is.
By the way, just so you guys know, this is a mass market video. It's very different than the 𝐟𝐚𝐬 video, right? This one is to attract your average everyday person. Have you met your average everyday person? Okay. I think, like for me, I never actually, this is the first time I've watched this whole video front to back. Well, that's not true. I did watch it one time a long time ago to study it, but I never saw it as a consumer and watched it. So keep in mind that the type of content you will create for a hyper-aware audience or an educated audience versus mass market is very different. And sometimes it's hard for us to think like, oh, will people take this seriously? But if your audience is mass market enough, yeah, clearly it made hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right now. So they drove to Nuevo Laredo and they stopped at their favorite Mexican grocery store. As Jose was picking his groceries, he heard his friend call out, Jose, come check this out. There at the front of the counter was,
come check this out. See, rehook.
A Mexican lottery ticket for a lottery. And there was the exact 4-digit number Jose had seen. Jose bought the ticket and he won $10,000. That's $50,000 in today's money.
Now notice he said he didn't need to say it's $50,000 in today's money, but he had to because you want to increase the value, right? So in this video, he's building up the value of being able to do this stuff with your mind.
Gavin, he said, the confidence and the boost of motivation to understand that he was onto something. That money funded the rest of the research he needed to complete the Silva method. But he also went on to write in his biography, look at the coincidences that happened. The dream, the friend walking in, going to that specific grocery store, that exact number being there. He said it wasn't just intuition. There was a force, something was laying out the right people, the right circumstances, the right coincidences to move him towards that outcome.
Now notice, it's to me, if I was watching this for the first time, I would think, oh, this dude's setting up a manifestation offer, right? But notice and I'm pretty sure that's kind of what this is, because this is what it sounds like. but he's not saying the word manifestation, at least not yet, okay? So remember, guys, that if you can learn to sell something to a market or to a wider market and not call it what most people know it as, it will seem new. It will seem fresh, okay? So this is why, you know, I did, in December, I did $800,000 with an online event. And I was teaching how to do what I call paid presentations. Most people know that as online challenges, right? And that was an offer that was like burnt. People had sold that like crazy. And if I would have come out and said, let me teach you how to make money with online challenges, oh yeah, we've heard that before. I didn't call it that. I called it paid presentations, okay? So be very careful to, when you're teaching something, don't, like if you want to attract a wider audience, don't call it what everybody in your little small pond calls it. Call it things that would seem interesting to both them and the wider audience, okay?
This is what I started experiencing in my life. It started when I was 26 years old. That's a picture of me at
Okay, now he shifts to his story, right?
26. I was living in New York, and I grew tired of New York, and I decided to move to Silicon Valley, to San Francisco. It was 2001 when I landed in San Francisco.
One quick thing. Notice how he goes, it was 2001. He could have said, hey, it was 2001, right? So don't just pay attention to what he's saying. Pay attention to how he's saying it. This is a very long video, right? And he's telling you multiple stories. He's layering belief. He's basically just saying over and over again, here's an example of how this thing works. So in order to keep you, from a tonality perspective, engaged, in 2001. And then he speeds up, and then he slows down. And then he speeds up, and then he slows down. It's sort of like a song, right? If the song was like, bop, 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 it wouldn't be interesting, right? What do songs have? They have intros, they have verses, they have choruses, they have melody. So there's a melody to his voice. There's a change, there's dynamics to his voice. And when you learn how to do this, you will keep people more engaged. Also, when to learn pauses. When you want to share something important, pause. People, what's he about to say, right? So let's keep continuing.
And my timing, in a word, sucked. In April 2001, the dot-com bubble burst. Everything collapsed. 14,000 people were laid off. I couldn't get a job. And if that wasn't agony enough, going months and months and months, not even being able to afford rent, but sleeping on a couch, September 11 then hit, making the economy go further into a recession. I was sending out my resume to anyone.
All right, he's setting up a relatable experience, right? I'm broke, I don't got a job, okay, etc. Okay, so he's not saying, have you ever had this situation? He's telling a story about his situation that he knows you can relate to. So if you guys want to be a bit more salesy without sounding salesy, don't say, hey, are you experiencing this? That sounds like a salesman. Say, I experienced this thing that I know you can relate to. That's less salesy.
That would hire me. And finally, I got a big break. A company that developed and sold software to law firms hired me, but on the condition that I only get paid if I close a sale. They asked me if I had any sales experience. I had none, but I didn't dare tell them that because I was sick and tired of sleeping on my friends' couches.
So what he's now setting up is the idea that with this method, you can take advantage of opportunities that were not meant for you because you have the silver mind technique, okay? I'll answer questions in a second. I see a couple questions.
I wanted to at least have enough money for rent, so I jumped into this job knowing nothing about sales. In my first month, I made a big fat zero because I couldn't get a single lawyer to show enough enthusiasm to actually buy my software. But it was worse than that. Now, back then, this is what we had to do.
This bad thing happened, but wait, this is the opposite of, but wait, there's more. This is the opposite, but wait, it gets worse, okay? Same tactic, different frame.
I was assigned a territory, It was San Antonio, Texas. I had to call every lawyer in San Antonio, Texas in the Yellow Pages.
By the way, notice how he was talking about his software company. So like, he's not only trying to be quite honest with you, this video is one of the only videos I've seen where they're successfully able to attract a wide mass market demographic of people, not just one specific avatar, right? Like, he's covered the woo-woo people. He's covered the religious people. He's covered the logical people. Now he's covering the business people. Like, he's basically saying no matter who you are, no matter where you are in life, this shit's for you. That's what he's saying, right? That's why he mentioned in this software company, right? Okay, because one example was a kid, learning more about American history. Another example was this Helen lady who won competitions. Another example was, this and that, and now him doing better in business. So he's covering a wide variety of demographics.
From A to Z. And if you know anything about American Texan lawyers, you know this. If you are a telemarketer or a salesperson and you interrupt a Texan lawyer in the middle of a busy day, you're going to hear more kids than you'd ever imagine you would hear in a 24-hour
Little pattern interrupt, little thing keep you awake.
period. But not only that, these were American lawyers. They would tell me to F off in the most creative ways involving broom handles and blenders and body parts I dare not.
Now, this is classic. He is trying to relate to you because everybody can relate to rejection. It doesn't matter if it was a boss, a girl, a guy, a job interview. People of all walks of life can relate to being rejected.
Not mention. And so one day, after I guess the 13th lawyer verbally abused me, I decided.
Okay, that's another one, right? Let me just get on my soapbox. So I would imagine that people who watch this stuff and really get into it are probably a little bit sensitive, right? Now, I used to work for a sales company, and we got called all kinds of names, but we didn't bitch and moan about it and call it verbal abuse, okay? It was just what it was, all right? It was the early 2000s. That's just how life was. We didn't get all butthurt about it, right? But if I was somebody who would actually sit and watch this whole thing, I would probably be somebody that got butthurt pretty easy. And so these phrases such as verbal abuse or whatever, like, this is a very 2020 kind of thing. Because back then, when I was younger, we didn't say that. We were just, guy's an asshole, whatever, right? We didn't get all freaking bent out of shape about it. So I would imagine he's using, and this is what you need to do. You need to use terminology that your audience uses, right? Like, you're not going to say, like, for instance, if you're going after women who are, say, liberal, right? Then you want to use terms like gaslighting. But if you're going after women who are conservative, you want to use terms like obedient wife, right? You would never say that to a liberal woman. She'd freak out. Her fucking head would explode. But you say that to like a hardcore Christian woman, she's going to be like, yes, that's a godly woman, right? So you have to think, who am I selling to? And how can I kind of sprinkle in some terms that they use in their everyday life? And verbal abuse is probably one of them.
That I either had to change something about my life or I had to quit. Now, back then.
Now, that's a very relatable thing. I either had to change something about my life or I had to quit. Again, relatable.
This new technology had just emerged. We called it Google.
New technology.
Google was this new search engine that was just starting to rise in dominance. So I got on Google and I needed answers. I started Googling for hope. I asked Google, I don't remember what I typed in that day, but it may have been, Google, why does my life suck so bad? Or Google, give me an...
You guys see the related? How many times have you typed in something in Google to solve your problems? It's relatable. Relatability, 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 relatability. You got to keep thinking of ways to be relatable.
Answer. Or Google, why are Texan lawyers such assholes? But what I do know,
nobody likes lawyers. Nobody likes their boss. These are relatable. So, and this is something that I struggle with. I struggle to be relatable sometimes because it's been like I'll be honest with you, it's been like 10 to 13 years since I've struggled with money. I was so much better back then at relating to my audience, especially the ones that needed to make money, because it wasn't that long ago that I was in that position. And it kind of sucks now because I have to I have different problems. I have different problems in my life. Like flying to Qatar last week and then flying back same day to sign on a property. Like, these are not problems I had when I was delivering pizza. So sometimes as an expert, when you achieve something and you've been achieving that thing for some time, you kind of forget how to relate to your audience. So what I would suggest to you is go back to some of the people you knew at that time, your friends, or your parents are great. Your parents are great for this. And ask them, like, hey, do you remember when this happened? What was I doing? Like, how did I feel? What are some things that I said to you? And it will remind you of things that you may have forgot about yourself.
Is that day I saw a website on Google, and it was about meditation. It was a name I recognized, the Silva Method. I'd read those books when I was a kid. The Silva Method books were hugely popular in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but this was about a new creation by Jose Silva called 𝐈'𝐦. Apparently, it was his final work. He had created it in 96, released it to the world, but before it could really take off, he passed away in 1999. And so there were very few seminars teaching this, but I was intrigued.
There were very few seminars teaching this. He's showing how rare it is. Human beings assign value to things that are rare. Okay, this is why platinum is more valuable than gold, because it's more rare.
Intrigued at what the website claimed. The seminar was being taught in LA by a pharmaceutical salesperson, and she mentioned that she had used the tools here to overcome a tragic divorce. She had built her life back. She had jacked up her sales. She was now driving a Ferrari. And
overcoming divorce, building wealth, improving life. This is probably the best ad I've ever seen selling something to everyone, because usually that does not work. And man, they really made it work here.
She'd met the man of her dreams. And this is why she decided, in addition to being a pharma sales rep, to teach the Silva Method, and that she had a class happening that very weekend. That was enough for me.
That was enough for me. Now, notice, he's just built up all this proof, and then he said he's put it into your brain. That's enough for me. He wants you to say, while watching this, yep, that's enough for me. I'm going to buy this stuff too, okay? Like, this is all intentional.
The few dollars I had into a plane ticket, flew to LA, showed up for the class. Now, interestingly, when I showed up, I realized that as good at sales as she must have been, she wasn't good at marketing. I was the only student who showed up. But I took that to my advantage. I got incredible one-on-one training with her, and I experienced the power of the Silva 𝐈'𝐦 system. Now, the class was meant to be 2 days, but because I had one-on-one attention, I finished it in one day, in that Saturday, going all the way up to like 9 p.m. I then raced back to the airport, flew to San Francisco, and arrived early Sunday morning in the a.m.
Early Sunday morning. This is tonality to keep you. I don't give a shit about this guy's life, to be quite honest. But because he's speaking in this way, it's easier to pay attention.
I was ready to start my day on Monday. That Sunday, I put what I learned into action. I meditated, and I applied the meditation process to go into deep.
So I tried what I'm about to sell you.
Levels of mind. I
got into this thing that you will get into if you buy.
What is called the 3 scenes technique, to see my life unfolding.
Now he's giving you another label, the 3 scenes technique.
In different ways. I applied the mental video technique, and on Monday I showed up at work and I started putting.
So what he's doing is he's saying there's these techniques, right? So now you're basically thinking, oh, there's this technique, there's that technique, there's this, right? And I guarantee you when he pitches, he's going to be like, you're going to get this, you're going to get this, you're going to get this. So he's just, this is all set up.
Putting these techniques into place. Now back then, to get my list of lawyers to call up, I had to go to the San Francisco Public Library, check the yellow pages for San Antonio, get to the page on law firms, photocopy that page, rush back to my office, and call every attorney from A to Z. But this time, I decided to try what I learned in Silva, namely to tap into an altered state of mind called waking theta, and then tap into.
You see the labels, the constant labels, calling things.
Human intuition. I would.
Wait, hold on. What did he say?
This time, I decided to try what I learned in Silva.
So this time I tried to decide decided to try the thing I'm going to sell you.
Namely, to tap into an altered state of mind called waking theta and then tap into human intuition. I would sink into my meditative state, put the piece of paper on my table, run my fingers down the page, and I would only call the lawyers for which I felt an impulse. The impulse.
Okay, just give me a second. I'm a marketer, but man, like, I could be wrong. I could be total wrong, but God, this sounds like bullshit to me. This is some mass market shit, man. Like, I've never heard such horse shit in my entire life, okay? But here's the thing. I could be wrong. It could all be true. Probably not. But that's not the point. The point is that these are frameworks that you can use to sell your stuff. You don't have to sell it what he sells, what Mindvalley sells. This is absolutely brilliant VSL. And if it's all true, well then, okay, fine. I suck. But I'm just not that type of guy, man. Like, I hear this and I'm just like, come on, bro. But don't judge it by how you, and this is an important thing that I learned years ago that made me a lot of money. And that is this: do not study something and judge it yourself. Judge it based on what it has done. Because if you judge it and you're wrong, well, then you just cost yourself a lot of money. But if you say, okay, who cares what I think? What did it do? What are the results? Oh, the results are good. Well, now let me study it with a more open mind. If this was, because to be honest with you, I hear this, I think it's total bullshit. So if I have that mindset of I think it's total bullshit, then I'm not going to study it and I'm not going to learn from it. But if I say, wait a minute, this freaking thing did millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Now I think, well, who cares what I think? I need to study it. So this is a frame of mind I believe all of you should have. And something I struggled with in the past, but I've learned, hey, doesn't matter if I like it, if I think it's bullshit or not, study it, okay?
I'll explain it this way. It kind of felt like positivity, like a light, happy, positive feeling. And I would only call those names that gave me that impulse. I would not call any name that didn't give me that hit. Overnight, I doubled my sales. Now, if you know anything about professional level sales, you know that salespeople, they track everything, right? It's an empirical process. You know the number.
He's mentioning this because if you're a salesperson, if you're in business, you're going to be like, yeah, I do that, yeah.
Number of calls you have to make, you know the number of people who are going to tell you to F off, the number of people who are going to provide you your credit card, the number of people you're going to bill. I tracked everything. And at the end of that week, I doubled my sales. Now, at first I thought maybe this is an aberration. But the next week...
At first, I thought the thing that anybody with a reasonable freaking mind would think, he's calling out the objection.
I doubled it again when I brought in more silver techniques. I started growing in my performance so massively that my boss came to me and he said, Vishen, what are you doing? And I said, I think they call it ESP.
God, I'm not going to be able to get through this pitch break. It's just not. Oh, okay. All right, let's see.
And he said, nah, that's bullshit. But can you keep doing it? And
see, he literally just called out what I've been. You see this? Okay. So let me answer Claudine's question because this is a perfect time to answer this question. So she says, coming back to my question, what are the key components to include in the pitch if we have a short amount of time to pitch? Okay. So here's a little technique you can use, right? Write out your pitch. Just like write it out. Like write out what you intend to say. And then read that to your wife, your husband, a friend of yours. And I call this the bullshit technique, right? Every single time, and you tell your wife, girlfriend, uncle, cousin, dog, whatever. You say, listen, I'm going to speak. I'm going to read this. Every time think in your head, bullshit, I want you to make it come out your mouth and say bullshit, okay? Kind of like that movie, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And so every single time, I used to do this with my girlfriend back in the day, every single time they say bullshit, mark it. Mark it with a red pen. Get through the whole thing. Go back to every time you see the red pen and find a story, an analogy, a metaphor for that thing. And don't say, hey, you might be thinking this. Say, you know, and when I tried this, I thought, there's no way it's going to work because of objection. And then I did this. And what was crazy, I found that this thing actually happened instead, making my objection irrelevant. So I buy this stupid fucking ESP course. Okay. So you see what I'm saying? Okay. FYI, Dan, I'm 70 plus, and the smartest guy I ever met was the silver instructor back in the day. It's the smartest guy or the smartest marketer? Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I'm just not a woo-woo person. So whatever. I'll admit I'm a little biased here, okay? But it doesn't make the copy any better or any worse. It just is what it is, okay? But notice, this is a perfect learning moment. Here I am saying, gosh, this is BS. And then the guy literally says on the video, oh, this is BS, proving my point. I might still buy it, okay? This is the whole point. This is high level of marketing in action.
So fast, my company promoted me 3 times in 4 months, and soon I grew satisfied working at this company. 18 months had elapsed, and I decided I was able to do so many things. At this point, because of Silva, I was vice president of sales running their New York office in one of the most outstanding buildings in the city, Chelsea Market. It's one of the most, my office is where YouTube Studio sits today. But I was so...
Okay, see, again, he didn't need to say that, but I did this amazing thing because of the Silva technique, right? So this is where YouTube Studios, you gotta pepper it in,
productive, I was able to take on a second job as business development director. I was able to do 2 jobs.
He's showing that you can level up and you can get more done with the Silva technique. Which, by the way, guys, I've never used this. I don't know what the Silva technique is. I just know about the VSL. And it could be great. But man, VSL is very mass market.
In the space of time as an ordinary human being, because my mind was so...
And I'll bet you that Jose Silva, back when he sold it, he didn't sold it as hypey and esoterical. And that's probably why he didn't do as much money as Vishen here.
Powerful due to Silva. I could use intuition to make better decisions. I could use the alpha level of mind and manifesting to create synchronicities. I was hyper productive, but I needed to do more, because why work as a VP of sales when you have this level of potential? So at that point, I decided I needed...
Why stay where you are when you have more potential and you realize you have more potential, but you need to tap into that potential?
To go bigger. And I remembered something. I was the only person who showed up for that Silva Ultramind class. Yet these techniques had taught...
I was the only person who actually bought the thing that I'm about to sell you. And I was the only person that succeeded.
Me so much more than my degree at the prestigious University of Michigan School of Engineering. So I decided to become a Silva instructor. I quit my job cold turkey. I became a Silva instructor. And then I used the tools of Silva to grow and elevate my career. That led to me creating the company called Mindvalley.
This is great, guys. If you sell anything, I used to do this back in the day. Do a live event and take a picture of a bunch of people standing there. This is one of the easiest ways to create credibility. One time, I had this course where I taught people how to make 10 grand a month with an agency. Which, by the way, 10 grand a month's freaking child's play. It's easy. You sell one thing that costs 10 grand. You sell 2 things that cost 5. You sell, 10 things that cost 1,000. It's not that hard. And I printed up these T-shirts that said Dan Henry's 10K Club, and everybody that hit 10K got a shirt. And so I took a picture of everybody with that shirt on, and I used it in every webinar for years, and it just smashed because it's just so. It's just such a tangible, real thing, right? Like, how are you gonna fake? Like, I guess you could fake it, but it's just very real, and this is very real. He just used the word manifesting. I just missed it because I was yapping, and I predicted that. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Let's see.
So much more than my degree at the prestigious University of Michigan School of Engineering. So I decided to become a Silva instructor. I quit my job cold turkey. I became a Silva instructor, and then I used the tools of Silva to grow and elevate my career. That led to me creating the company called Mindvalley, to Mindvalley growing into the business of it today. It led to me just a few months ago getting an award here in the country in which I'm filming this for Mindvalley being the most successful bootstrap startup in Estonia.
Now he's just layering the social proof, which he should. He built a great company, of course.
And for me being recognized by the president of the country I'm in right now as the most recognized foreign founder in the country. None of these awards, none of these accomplishments would have been possible if it wasn't for Silva and the tools that I'm about to teach you here, guiding me throughout my life. Let me show you something. The picture you're seeing here is the picture of my first office. At this point,
oh, this reminds me of the Amazon story. This is now he's going to go into his origin story, his classic before and after. This is what life looked like when it sucked, and now it's better, right?
I'd moved back to my home country, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. That's my first office when I started out as an
Oh, I was just in Kuala. He's from Malaysia, really? I was just in Malaysia. Huh.
entrepreneur. I set a goal.
Which, by the way, my white little stomach could not handle that. I was sick for 2 weeks when I got back. I can't eat snake shoulder. Like that messed me up.
To have one of the most beautiful offices in the world because I love interior design. This is what happened next. Our office, now called the Temple of Light, made 𝐼'𝐦 magazine. Top 10 most beautiful workspaces in the world, 2019. This was one of just many goals that I was able to see in my
Non-monetary goal, kind of, showing that he cares about things other than money. That's important.
mind on the mental screen that you're going to learn here, and then see them rush into my life with an ease and a fluidity that almost makes you feel that life is magical. And so I want to pause here, and I want you to do an exercise with me. I want you to open up your journal or
Okay, now this is a little engagement technique. I want you to do an exercise with me. Okay, open up your journal. Okay, this is an engagement technique. He's getting you integrated into the video after he's just established. Oh my God, I gotta have this Silva technique, whatever it is.
piece of paper, and write down one goal that you'd love to accomplish, assuming you had easy access to intuition, assuming you knew this powerful technique.
He's making, oh my God, this is actually really good. He's basically saying, if you had the thing that I'm about to sell you, what would you accomplish? So now he's building up in their mind, like they're not just buying the course or whatever it is, they're buying what they want in life. And that's ultimately the payoff, right? So he just took you through the process, but now he's talking about the payoff. But instead of talking about the payoff, he's getting you to say it. So whatever you care about most is what you're thinking of right now. Brilliant.
To visualize your future and bring it towards you. What is one goal that you would love to accomplish? Write it down. Now, one of the things that makes Silva truly unique, Jose Silva doesn't just teach you to go deep into your goals. He teaches you a concept I call the compass and the rocket.
I love these labels, the compass and the rocket. What's the compass and the rocket?
You don't just rocket towards a goal. First, you use your compass or your intuition to identify if your goal is right for you, if you're aiming for the right goal. So this is a further nuance that we'll cover when you go deeper into this.
This is like an example of really dumbing it down, right? A lot of times you guys got to use these very simple analogies. You can't just say, you got to pick the right goal, right? You got to use phrases and words, the compass, like it makes it more memorable, right? Because who's going to say, I was listening to this amazing speaker. He said I should choose the right goals. No, they're going to be saying, hey, did you hear about the compass and the whatever the hell else he said, right? So one time I did a speech, and I'm not going to lie to you. This is where I learned a very important lesson about communicating. I did this whole speech in front of 6,000 people, and I shared all this very cool stuff. And then I was like, I should put something kind of dumb in here. Like, not dumb, but just simple. And I showed this thing called the circle of focus, and I basically drew a circle, and then I said, look, the more stuff you're trying to do at one time, the less focused you are, right? Because as you divide this, you're only giving a certain percentage of your effort to each thing. And if your circle of focus looks like a pizza, that's why you're not getting it done. And I just kind of said that and thought it would be a cool little thing to put in there. And people were walking around the conference, but did you see the pizza? Did you see the pizza? Is your life a pizza? I'm a pizza. I need to stop being a pizza. And I'm like, I shared all this, like there was other stuff in there that was like this high level tactics and stuff. Nobody was talking about that. They were just fucking pizza, right? And I'm thinking, this is what you guys got out of the speech, is the pizza, right? And it taught me a very important lesson, that people do not remember complex things. They remember simple things. And so you gotta come up with simple things. People are not gonna remember this amazing information, right? People don't want more information. They don't want better information. They want simpler information. Write that down.
Silva Ultramind system. Sometimes what we think is a goal that we want isn't right for us. There's something else we're meant to be doing. Silva helps you identify that compass and then rocket towards it. Now,
analogy, and then he ties up the analogy saying Silva's gonna help you pick the right goal.
I hope you understand I was joking when I mentioned Texas lawyers being assholes. No disrespect. Silva was actually founded in Texas. I was recently interviewing one of Texas' most famous sons, Matthew McConaughey. And as I
authority by association.
Interviewed Matthew.
Which, by the way, if you guys can interview Matthew McConaughey, well, good for you. I'm actually getting interviewed on a podcast coming up where Matthew McConaughey was getting interviewed. And I'm only mentioning that so you think I'm cool. Authority by association. Okay.
He shared with me a really interesting idea. You see, Matthew, when he was young, wrote down all his goals on a sheet of paper. He shared this with me, and he was in a fraternity when he...
Okay. He's now going to tell you something that Matthew McConaughey did that aligns with what you need to do to buy his stuff. Who doesn't like Matthew McConaughey? Right. I mean, who doesn't like Matthew McConaughey? The women want him, and the men want their women to stop watching his movies so they can watch the game. Okay? I mean, who doesn't love Matthew McConaughey?
When he wrote this down, this is the piece of paper that he shared in his autobiography. Notice that one goal, win a Best Actor Oscar. 20 years later, Matthew McConaughey won that Oscar. Think about it. That's a goal that only one person gets to hit every year. He wrote it down and 20 years later achieved it. And I asked Matthew, what do you think is going on? Do you think that was just purely 1 in a billion chance? And he said, no. The target attracts the arrow. Now, what he meant by this...
Okay, so I don't think I could be wrong here, but I don't think Matthew McConaughey took the Silva course or whatever. But what he's doing is he's associating his success with a shared concept. So he doesn't have to say that. He's connecting, he's bridging the two. Okay, he's bridging the two.
This is that what if there are goals out there that the universe or a higher force wants to achieve, and it's looking for the arrow. The target already exists. The target is looking to attract the right arrow. I sometimes ask myself, did I build this dream company, Mindvalley? Or was Mindvalley already in the universe's plan, and I was the arrow that it chose to hit that target?
This is very, very optimized for the manifestation crowd. And honestly, manifestation market is huge. God, I wish I was woo. I could make so much money there. But this stuff makes me gag. I gotta. You guys ever see me sell manifestation stuff? You know, I've really need some money.
This is why it's so important to check into your intuition first before you aim for a goal. Because what if there's a target out there calling you, asking you to be that arrow, and you aren't listening? This is why intuition development...
By the way, guys, sometimes I listen to my own stuff and I feel the same gag reflex, so no judgment, no judgment.
Is one of the most powerful tools you can learn. Now, before we go further, the Silva Ultramind program covers 8 outcomes. Now, the first...
Okay, now this is interesting. So now we get into, now what it kind of sounds like here is he started with the lead about the lady, right? And so just so you guys understand, and this is something that I will teach you, every VSL, okay? Every VSL has this format, all right? And I'll write it out for you. So it goes like this. You have the lead, all right? And I'll show this to you. You have the story, okay? And you have the pitch. So in this particular case, might want to put it in front of the video. You have the lead, the story, and the pitch. The lead, which is the thing, the section of the video that gets you interested and sucks you in, okay, is that Helen Hansel, whatever, she won every competition thing, right? The story is the story of Jose Silva and his technique, and then also blended with Vishen's origin story of how he used that technique to create Mindvalley. So this was kind of like a two-part story here. And the pitch is now him basically saying, here's how you're going to take advantage of this story that I just told you so that you can have these similar results. And so this is sort of like a breakdown of likely what you're going to get. But the way he's framing it is this is what it accomplishes, which is good positioning.
First area is this. Develop crystal clear intuition, meaning you are so intuitive that you have waking intuition. You get guidance instantly. Next, multiply your manifesting power.
There it is, manifesting. There it is. I knew it. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Manifesting. Let's not just work hard and set goals. Let's manifest them. Okay? Let's wave a magic freaking wand.
This means you can have an intention, and within days, you see that intention becoming real in the world.
Yeah, no shit, okay? You go do stuff, all right? God, I hate this manifestation. But it sells, man. It sells. But yeah, okay, so these are all the things they want, right? He's listing them out.
Third, career growth. This means you're able to bring altered state access into your career, like the story of me running my finger down the yellow pages. Fourth, boosting creativity.
I'll bet you, as we get through all 8, they're all universal wants and desires. That's what I've noticed about this. It's very universal type of.
If you're writing a book or if you're in any type of artistic pursuit, creativity can just flow. I can be given any book topic right now. I can go into my theta level of mind and just let that creativity flow. This is similar to some of the stuff that you may have heard great inventors speak about when ideas come to them fully formed in their head, like how 𝐈'𝐦 invented the sewing machine, how Tesla came up with the AC motor. Next, being totally grounded. This means even in the midst of chaos, you can go into this
it's something everybody wants.
state of mind and be grounded. 6, discovering and honoring
Everybody wants to discover their honor and purpose.
What targets are pulling yourself as an arrow. That's really what being aligned with your purpose means. Next, having the skills for alternative healing. What this means is being able to
everybody wants to be
your
healthier.
Healing so you can reverse aging, heal things like, for example, your skin, even lose weight,
everybody has
accelerate healing from injury, and
everybody wants to lose weight
in high states of youth and vitality as you get older. And finally,
everybody wants to stay young.
This is when you're truly aware of your true potential. You can magnify your strengths and you can overcome your weaknesses.
Do I need to say it?
Some of the stuff that Silva graduates have been able to accomplish are wild. In the last 10 years, I traveled around the United States meeting many prominent Silva practitioners. Many of them were in their 60s or 70s or 80s. This is one woman I visited, Helen.
Okay, now we're going to move into testimonials. Right? So let's start with Helen Hansel.
That's me with my documentary crew. We filmed a short documentary. And now Helen Hansel was...
By the way, if you got money, you can do this. You can fly around the world and interview people and do stuff like this. But I never needed to do that to make money. Though I have not made hundreds of millions of dollars. I've only made 35 million. But I'm pretty happy. I live in Dubai. It's nice. I don't know. It works.
Was known as the contest queen of Texas. I traced Helen to a tiny village in Texas where she was living at that time. Helen Hansel was able to win any competition she took.
I swear this is cut from the beginning, which, by the way, that's like, you can do that, right? Like you can cut stuff and put it in the lead. I swear this was cut from the beginning. It's not, he didn't say it again. This was cut from the beginning.
Pardon. She was known as the contest queen because she had won 7 trips to Paris, boats, houses. She would basically take part in any sweepstake, any contest, and just win. And I asked Helen, how do you do that? And she spoke about the Silva techniques. Helen, you see, was Jose Silva's former PR director.
He's saying the same thing. Guys, believe it or not, you should be able to film an entire ad and cut stuff out and put it in different spots and do different versions of it. If you're not able to do that, then it's, you know, you're not following a certain structure, right? Because think of these presentation-based, because that's what it is, a presentation-based videos, sort of as like building blocks, right? Like they can be kind of moved around to build something different, like Legos. That's a really great way to think about creating a pitch for your business is Legos. You know, they're like Lego. I've always thought of them like Legos. I always have the different Legos out on my table, and I use the Legos to build whatever I want to build. Sometimes it's an email. Sometimes, oh, that's a damn good analogy. Sometimes it's emails. Sometimes it's ads. Sometimes it's webinars or sales videos, etc. But you still have to have your box of Legos. And one Lego might be a story. Like I used it in a very recent webinar, the story of how I would go to Panera Bread and buy potential clients coffee to try to explain to them my services. And I was, you know, obviously very overlooked because I had to beg for clients, right? And then when I learned to present and I learned how to do online Zoom presentations, I was able to make thousands and thousands of dollars every day. And so that's one Lego, right? That story of being at Panera Bread, right? So anyway, that's and like now I can take that one Lego and I can build it into a different story. I could say, look, this is where I started. But now I speak all over the world, right? I don't have to sit at Panera Bread and explain what I do. I can explain it in front of 6,000 people. You know, like in a week, I'm going to Bali, speak in front of 3,000 people, right? From Panera Bread. See, I use the same story for a different purpose. So the Lego, same Lego, they can build a different thing. I don't know. My son loves Legos and I step on them all the time. So I think I have Legos on them.
She had the benefit of learning closely from that man. Then there's this individual, Bert Goldman. Bert Goldman was an early Mindvalley author. We published a program with him called The American Monk and another program called Quantum Jumping. Bert Goldman is in his 90s. But the thing that's incredible about Bert Goldman is even though he's in his 90s, he is a prolific creator. People who can tap into the theta states are like that. Bert has become a renowned artist. His art sells for between $10,000 to $20,000 a piece. I know because I have 2 of them in my office in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. But not only art, Bert can pick up any skill he wants. I saw him in his 80s learn to play the piano. He even developed a unique style.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, if you have these type of results and examples, you're going to crush, right? Not everybody has this, you know? But you don't need it. I had very small results when I got started, and I still made a lot of money.
Style of photography, true, applying the Silva method. The exact ideas, the exact system to develop this photography came to him in a dream. Then there's this legendary teacher. If you're a Mindvalley fan, you've heard of her, Christy Marie Sheldon. She's one of the top spiritual teachers on Mindvalley and a best-selling author from 2014 all the way to 2018. Christy Marie Sheldon started her career.
Okay, we're about to get to the pitch.
Silva Method book fell on her head. This ability to perceive information is so profound. It is why Richard Bach, the famous writer, credited Silva with helping him finish one of the greatest books of the last 100 years, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, as a book, was so popular as a personal growth tale, it made the cover of Time magazine. But Richard Bach, in an interview with Harper's Bazaar magazine, said that he had difficulty finishing the book until he took a Silva class.
Again, all these things we tried to accomplish, it wasn't until we learned the Silva technique, get into the alpha state and blah, 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 and sail through the dreams on a white dragon pooping snowflakes that, you know, achieved our dreams, right? So it's layers upon layers of you need this thing to accomplish your goals. Now I'm going to sell you this.
And that's when the closing chapter came to him. Now, interestingly enough, Richard Bak's daughter, Gowrie, reached out to me and shared the full story. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, the book that made the cover of Time magazine, sat in Richard's basement for years until taking a silver class helped him complete it. And he was so fond of silver, he would teach techniques to Gowrie. Imagine writing a book because of silver that is so successful. You make the cover of Time magazine. But that's what our graduates are doing. Now, I can tell you that the silver method is probably one of the most profound pieces of knowledge and wisdom that I've ever entered my life, which is why I'm so honored that Jose's daughter, Diana Silva, and his family asked me to bring this program together to be the new face of the silver method. What you're seeing here is 4 years in the making.
Okay, so he has built up, now he's about to pitch. Okay, he's built this all up. By the way, guys, I don't know if, like, one thing I've been thinking this whole time is like, I don't have, this is like a lot. Like, I don't have, even me, I don't have all this stuff. Like, I don't have some famous dude from the 60s that I've bought his entire collection, and I have all these people that I've traveled around. Like, this is a lot of assets at his disposal, right? However, I think back to when I got started, and I remember I literally just, I sold a Facebook ads course. And I remember I said, look at this campaign. This campaign, I used this method, and I got $2 leads. Look at this campaign. I did it here as well, and I got $1.50 leads. And then look at Mike here. Mike's a friend of mine. I taught him this technique, and he got 99-cent leads, right? We didn't even talk about sales. We didn't even talk about money or nothing. Just lead cost. That was it. Very small, very small. But I did the same thing he's doing. I layered, like, here's a method. It gets you what you want, and here's 10 examples of it getting me and others what they want. Very simple. And I sold a $9.97 course, and I did about 10 million off that course. So you don't have to have, like, it can be simple, right? And as you grow, you'll get better and better results, and you'll be able to share more and more and more.
I started working with the Silva family in 2003. And in 2020, we launched Silva 𝐈'𝐦, the most advanced Silva program in the world right now. And it's now available for you completely on Mindvalley. You can choose to take everything you learned so far and try to figure it out over the next 4 years.
Okay, classic line. You can take everything I just showed you. This is a two-path close. You can take everything I just showed you, and you can do it on your own and make all the mistakes, or you can have guidance.
Or you can choose to have me hold your hand 20 to 30 minutes a day and go into a complete transformation. Now, odds are you already meditate. So for the next 30 days, it's not like you have to spend an extra 20 minutes.
Okay. Pop quiz, folks. What do you think of, what objection do you think he's overcoming here? The objection is, I don't have time. This is just more stuff I have to do. And he's saying, well, wait a minute, you're already meditating because you're watching, you're 26 minutes into this fluffy manifestation ad. So clearly you meditate. So we're just going to replace the type of meditation you're doing with this type of meditation. So it's not actually going to cost you any time. So that's not a problem, right? So objection, but actually, it's not a problem. Objection, response, so it's not a problem. That's the format.
You can, since there's going to be a lot of meditation in this program, just use your regular meditation or yoga time. You're going to come out of these trainings with the same relaxed, beautiful, wonderful, blissful sensations. So to enroll, all you got to do is this. Scroll down below this video, and you will see full information on the program. And you will notice that there's a special unlock price for you. Now, what this means is, as a thank you for watching this masterclass, we're going to give you a big discount on this program. It's only available on this page, so do not close this page. Go ahead, click enroll, and join the program.
I'm pretty sure that he noticed he did not mention the price. And I don't think he's going to mention the price for a good reason, so that he can test different price points, right? Because let's say you sell it for $200, right? Versus $500, versus $1,000, versus $97. You're going to get what's called an EPV, or earnings per view, which means that for every unique visitor that lands on that page, you're going to earn a certain amount of money. So I have a funnel right now that's working really well. I get $3.50 for every person that lands on the page, which is really good. And so if you were to, and I've done this before, I've had a offer that was $97 and I've tested it at 97, 147, 297. What you look for is the highest earnings per view. So if I earn more money per view for the price being $97 than I do $297, well, then I make more money if it's priced at 97 because more than triple the amount of people are buying it. And so the reason that he said this was likely to give him the option to test different price points with the same ad.
Now, I want you to understand one thing about our Mindvalley programs. You don't have to make up your mind.
He is showing the program in its actual form. This is called the demonstration close. Okay, he didn't just tell you about it, he's showing it to you. Okay, whenever you guys have a, like, especially like an online course, log into the course as you're pitching and be like, look, here's what you get. It makes it real, it makes it tangible.
Right now, you can enroll in this program, test it out, and anytime in the next 15 days, with one click, cancel your purchase.
Classic risk reversal close. Okay, this means, hey, like you actually are paying today, but you're really just trying it out.
And get a full unconditional refund. All you have,
which most people are not going to take the time to do or remember to do. But the frame is you're protected. You get to try it out. You get to try it before you buy. You don't have to make a decision now, even though you are making it.
have to do is click on your account page on the Mindvalley platform, click on the refund button, and that's it. You are never obligated to buy a program. You can test it out. You can see.
Of course, you're not obligated to buy a program. Click off the video right now. But by saying that, you feel safe. You feel like you're in your little safe space. Because if you are a manifestor, you probably also talk about safe space.
The video. You can even go through practically half the program because you can give yourself a refund in 15 days with one.
Risky. That's risky. I mean, they probably figured, well, they'll make more money saying that than not saying it. But I would never say that. But I also don't, my stuff's generally more than $200.
Click. So you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Now, if you are buying a house or buying a car, you would obviously test drive things, right? I encourage you to do the same.
Again, this is a agreement analogy, okay? So, do I believe it now, or is it still no, it still sounds like BS. So this is an agreement analogy. He's saying, hey, if you wanted to buy a car, you would test drive it, right? Well, test drive this. It's an agreement analogy. It's an analogy you have to agree with because it's common sense related to what they need to agree with to buy.
Here, scroll down below, click enroll so you can take advantage of the enrollment discount. Explore the program as much as you want in the next 15 days. Cancel and get your refund. You can apply your refund to another Mindvalley program, or you can just keep it. All the information is on mindvalley.com/refund. By the way, you get over 50 programs on Mindvalley instantly.
So this is, so whenever you offer something, you offer it, you build up the value, but then you give a bonus that is like worth more than the thing you offered. This is a key thing, okay? And he's basically saying, I just spent 28 minutes selling you on this one thing. You get 50 more of them, right? It's like, what? I gotta buy. Oh my God.
Available for you. You can go through a new program every month or do 2 programs in a month and up-level yourself in 24 unique areas of life in the coming year.
Yeah.
But that's not all. Membership
But that's
also
not all.
means that you get access to Mindvalley live events with so many special guests.
What's happening here?
Just
You're
layering
on a
it,
private
layering
social
it.
network. You're in a network of fellow members, and these are such incredible individuals.
There's always that, and everybody wants networking, they want community, right? So that's why he's including that.
And we have memberships now in every country in the world.
Now, in this special class, you get so many bonuses. And the biggest bonus is this. Before I launched Silva Ultramind, there was another really remarkable program that I released. It was on creative visualization. It sold for $249. You're going to get creative visualization.
It sold for this amount. You're going to get it absolutely free. And this amount is more than the amount I'm charging you.
Free. I collaborated on this with the phenomenal teacher, Lisa Nichols. You might remember her from the hit movie, The Secret. Working with Lisa Nichols, we created these
I won't say a thing.
amazing creative visualization tracks to help you visualize spectacular outcomes in your life. You're going to get this as a bonus, $249, but only during the launch period. Now, here's how you use this bonus with Silva. As you go through the Silva program, as you learn to go deeper and deeper into alpha, you can go to the alpha level of mind. Remember, by the end of week 1, you can get to alpha in about 10 seconds, right? You can now go to alpha and then play this audio, this creative visualization.
So what he's doing is he's casually saying you're going to get to alpha in 10 seconds, but he's not, he's softening the promise, right? So he's basically like, I don't want to just promise you you're going to get to alpha in 10 seconds because that would be a bit unbelievable. So I'm going to shift the focus to, look, there's this other course. And we're going to get you an alpha. It only takes like 10 seconds to get an alpha, but when you are in it, do this thing, right? So he's shifting your energy so that you feel like, oh, it's not a big deal, right? Because if he doesn't make it a big deal, you won't make it. But it's still that thing you want. I want to get an alpha.
Visualization audio. Choose the ones that relate to the particular outcomes in life you want and watch magic happen. Now, before I launched this program in 2020, I was about to give a class to CEOs and...
So he just told you, he gave you very facts and figures features. Now he's going to tell a story to bring you back into the narrative mindset, right? Because when we hear too many facts and figures, we check out a bit.
CHROs at the Ritz-Carlton in Marina Del Rey, California. That class was $8,000. And
again, associating, hey, this thing that you're gonna learn components of, or you're gonna get for free, costs this much at one time, and now you're getting it free.
If you were a Mindvalley member, you got it as a discount for around $3,995. And you will see that what I was teaching in the class is essentially key ideas from Silva, except that we also added networking and some nuances for CEOs and CHROs. That is how much this content was worth. CEOs were taking 2 days off their busy schedules to travel to the Ritz-Carlton's Marina Del Rey to go deep with me. Now keep in mind, you're getting all of that in this new Silva Ultramind program. I put it in this program because, well, in March 2020, it became very apparent that we didn't know how long the world was going to be in a pandemic, and I wouldn't have a chance to teach this class. Prior to that, my Silva class...
So he just gave you an unreasonably large bonus. He had to explain why. Whenever you give somebody something of immense value, it sounds like BS if you just give it to them. You have to give them a reason. Oh, well, that makes sense. That's unbelievable. But now that makes sense, right? You got to give a reason.
And the picture you're seeing here is a Silva Ultramind seminar, 30 minutes a day over 30 days. So you're getting the exact same training. But there's an extra bonus. You're going to be connected in a community using Mindvalley's new private social network. So even though you can't be in a class with other students, you'll get to connect on a private social network, which not only will give you access to other students, but will also show you students who might be nearby so that you can get together for a cup of coffee. As soon as you click enroll.
Okay, this classic, right? He's walking you through the purchase. This is the walk through the purchase close. Otherwise known as, this would be the internet version of assuming the close, right? Or assuming the sale, right? Here's what's going to happen when you buy, because you're already going to buy. I know you're going to buy. Click here, go here, log in there, right? And then they're like, well, crap, I want to do that.
You get to access the program in full. Simply open up the Mindvalley app on your iPhone or Android, and the program will be there for you. Or open it up on Apple TV, or go to home.mindvalley.com. There's a Mindvalley app on all of these devices. The program has a start date. Join a class. All our classes start on Monday.
He's assuming the sale. Do this, do that.
With the largest
click
number of
here.
Students, trust me, it's the most fun. Now, every day a new lesson will unlock. Simply follow the lessons and the meditation. That's it. Before the class starts, there's a series of warm-up videos that I created for you, guiding you through the entire process so you know exactly how to prepare. And you'll also get a welcome guide.
So again, he mentioned there's this thing to show you how to prepare. Because people will ask that, like, what do I need to prepare, right? This is a common question that even I get a little thrown off by sometimes. Like I'll have people, like I do these in-person masterminds sometimes. And the idea is you come to the mastermind, I take a look at your business, and I tell you what to do, right? And everybody always asks, well, how do I prepare? I'm like, bring your ass. Like, bring yourself, bring your data, bring the stuff you want me to look at. What do you mean, right? So like to me, it is, and I've heard this from students of mine. They've said, I never thought my clients would ask these like very obvious questions. I said, yes, but they will, right? So you can't think of what you would ask. You got to think of what they would ask, right? And a lot of times that's just realizing that people will ask very basic things like, how do I prepare to watch this 7-minute video? You click play, motherfucker, okay? Like, but he's like, don't worry, I'm preparing you for what to do when you click this video, right? It just layers it in, right? People do think this way.
Explains how the entire system works. At this point, you have two choices. You can choose to say, okay, I've learned enough. I think this is pretty cool.
Two choices close.
I'm going to learn to get to alpha over the next 40 days. I'm just going to figure everything out. And I'm sure you could figure everything out.
No, you can't, because he didn't sell you anything. He didn't tell you anything. He didn't teach you anything. He just showed you what it was. He showed you the possibility. And guys, this is stop teaching stuff so much, right? Okay? Show them what's possible. That's how you do great advertising.
It may take years, but you could. When I was 14 years old and I picked up my first Silva book and I had that skin problem, I wish I'd been able to take a Silva class because it could have solved my skin problem probably within months. I had to read multiple books, try to figure out things on my own, and books are never as good.
Okay, now he's using a very simple story about the cost of doing it on your own.
Good as a powerful training. Silva's books cannot give you the full immersion that you get in a training where there are specific audio technologies, specific hypnotherapy scripts.
By the way, if you guys got questions, drop them in. I'll take a few questions after because the video is about to end.
The trainings speak to your subconscious mind. They change you at a different level. But if I had taken a Silva class, my God, my entire teenage life might have been different. Maybe I'd be significantly more ahead.
If I... Thank God I didn't do the thing you're thinking about doing and not buying. Otherwise, my life would have sucked ass. Okay, that's what he's saying.
I am right now. Maybe I would have been able to at least get a date or not feel.
Now he just built up this amazing thing. He built this $1 billion company, whatever. Maybe I could just get a date. He's lowering it down, right? Like, because some people might be thinking, well, this is just like, I'm never going to achieve this stuff. This is too big. Well, what about just getting a date? What about something small? Oh, you're right. Bye.
Feel ugly. I wish I'd learned Silva when I was significantly younger. Now, you didn't have to worry about that.
Don't wait. That's what he's saying.
For you right here on the Mindvalley platform. So to enroll, all you got to do is this. Scroll down below this video, and you will see full information on the program. I can't wait to see you in our membership.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that video did hundreds of millions of dollars. And as much as I'm not a woo-woo person, I honestly thought that the video was amazing. It's one of the best video sales letters, which was also run as an ad of all time. And I have a few closing thoughts. So number one, it's quite clear that they had a lot going on, right? They had a lot of assets. They had a lot of infrastructure. But the thing is that the flow and the different tactics and techniques are still the same, whether you're just starting out teaching someone how to do a Microsoft Excel course or you own a big manifestation company, okay? In fact, I remember one of the things that got me started in the online education space was hearing a story about a guy that made $1 million teaching people how to use Microsoft Excel. He was a teacher, and he got paid a teacher's wage, teaching snot-nosed kids how to do basic school stuff. And he went online and he created a course because, he taught the kids how to use Excel because it was part of the curriculum. But when he sold it as his own product online, he ended up making $1 million versus his tiny $20,000 a year teacher salary. And the thing is that education, intellectual property, because this is the intellectual property business, right? This is the most valuable stuff that, like, selling air, okay? Because if you think about it, right? What is a movie once it's made? It's basically air. It's just ones and zeros. It's intellectual property, okay? Once it's made, once the camera crew goes home, once the filming is done, it's just a digital, it's air. A song, once the musicians are done in the studio, it doesn't cost anything additional to play the song again, but you still make money from it. It doesn't cost anything to play the movie again. People play it on their Amazon, but you make money from it. I went and saw Superman. I paid money at the movie theater. I came home, and a couple weeks later, I went on Amazon and I bought it and I watched it last night. They did not have to film the movie twice, and I paid twice. Okay? So the truth here is, in life, some of the most profitable, the most profitable product you can sell is something that you have to make only once, and people can buy it as many times as possible. This is the intellectual property business. This is coaching, consulting, online courses, ebooks, etc. I made $35 million in this space, and I love teaching people how to take what they know and what they're interested in and make business. So if you enjoyed this pitch breakdown and you would like help building your business and monetizing what you know, there's links in the description, yada, yada, yada. Thank you all so much for attending. And I'll take just a couple questions here. Is it right to say that the point of the pitch is to show your authority, prove your methodology, and then obliterate limiting beliefs? Yes. So establish credibility. So no, it's gain attention, establish credibility, present a unique mechanism to solving a problem, and overcome objections about that mechanism throughout the video, and then close with an offer that fills the gap that was created during the pitch, okay? Because there's always a gap. Whenever you have content in a pitch, people think, well, yeah, but I need X, Y, Z. And then at the end, oh, we just happen to be selling you X, okay? All right. Thank you all so much. Let me know, by the way, what pitch breakdown you want me to do next. And if you don't mind coming back on the video once it's published and leaving a nice comment for me, that would be amazing. Sorry for the tech issues. I'll get better at them the more I do these streams, okay? Also, I don't have to just do pitch breakdowns. I can do other videos, Q&As, whatever. Give me some ideas. Comment on this video with your ideas. I would love to do more for you guys.